I'm Velveteen. Today I'm going to teach you how to put together this easy Cruella makeup look. Couple of tips before we get started. First, don't put your wig on until after you do your makeup, or you might get makeup all over it. Second tip, do your eyes first. When you're working with a bunch of black eyeshadow, you might end up with it all over your face, and so it's a great idea to do your eyes first so you can clean that up. Check out the description box for the materials you'll need to duplicate this look. All right, let's get started. I'm going to start by applying some eyeshadow primer. I'm using the one from Kaleidos, but you can use whatever eyeshadow primer you have, or you could also use a concealer for this step. So we're just setting down a base for the eyeshadow because this look is all about that graphic black eyeshadow. So I am applying it all around the perimeter of the eye, not just on the lid. And that's because we're going to bring that black underneath the eye as well. So we want all of that primed and ready. All right, once the eyes are primed, because we are not putting shadow all over the entire lid, what we want to do is set down that primer in the areas that are not going to be getting eyeshadow. So I'm just going to grab a light colored powder, and this is the same powder I'll use on my face later on. And I'm going to grab a small powder brush, and I'm just going to set that primer. And you could also use a neutral colored eyeshadow here. I just want to get that set so that we can focus in on the black graphic stuff and that we don't have any like creasing or moving around throughout the day. Now it's time for the scary part, the black graphic eye. It can be a little hard, but the good thing is that Cruella's look is messy. So you do not need to be perfect. So don't try and make it perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Your two eyes are not going to match perfectly. Make peace with that now. And let's talk about how to create that smoky graphic eye. Cruella makeup is fun. For this step, I'm using a teeny little pencil brush. You could also use a slightly larger pencil brush or a smudge brush or an angled eyeliner brush. Any of those would work well. And then you need a good black eyeshadow. And I'll be using this one from my Identity 2 palette from Persona. And this is a really good black. So I'm dipping into the black. Black can be messy, so I'm just going to tap off any excess. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the bottom outer corner of my eye. And again, I don't need to be super neat here. What we're doing is carving out the shape. All right, and so I just want to extend that line. I want to follow the line of my lower lid here and bring it out towards the end of my brow. So I'm kind of shooting for there, right? Because I want it to angle up just a little bit. All right. So I'm just drawing in that line, all right? And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, because by doing one step at a time on each side, I'll be able to make the sides match better. They're not gonna match perfectly, but they'll be able to match better. So I'm just going underneath, and then I wanna extend it out a little bit towards the corner of the eyebrow. All right, so now we've got that line curving up on each side. All right, what I'm gonna do next is dip back into my black. I'm gonna come back to the first side, and I'm just gonna bring that line in, all right? Just creating that basic shape. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So just bringing that line in. All right? So that's kind of the basic shape. What I'm gonna do now is without putting more shadow on my brush, I'm gonna just kind of pull the shadow all the way across the bottom and fill in this little kind of spot here. Right, and again, we want this to be kind of messy. It does not need to be perfect. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, just bringing it all the way into the corner of the eye for that dark smokiness, and then kind of filling in this area here. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe off my brush, and I'm just doing that on a makeup eraser cloth. Any little washcloth or something would work well. I'm gonna clean that brush off, and then I'm just gonna go in on the edges and just really make sure those edges are kind of smudgy and blended. Right, this look is supposed to look messy and grungy. That's the Cruella vibe. It's not supposed to be, you know, perfect and neat. All right, so we've got underneath the eye. This is looking really beautiful right now. Now I'm gonna come in and do the top. All right, so I'm gonna start on that inner corner and just follow the line of the eye. All right, so just following the line of that eye and getting it all the way across. And then I want to kind of bring that corner out just a little bit. All right, and again, it's supposed to be kind of messy. That's okay. All right, I'm gonna grab more shadow, and I'm just gonna kind of play with this shape here. Thicken that line up a bit. Right, don't be afraid to go too thick. It can take up your whole eyelid if you want it to. Right, we want that black to make a statement. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other eye. So I'm starting at that inner corner and just following the line of the eye. So really just touching right along the base of the lashes. Bringing it all the way in to the corner. Right, we want to like exaggerate that sultriness and that grunginess. Right, and then bringing this in. And it's okay if it's messy. We can go in and clean stuff up, but also messy is kind of the goal, which is the great thing about this look. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of sharpen and clean up these corners and maybe exaggerate them just a little bit more. So just finishing up with that shape. All right, so I want that nice big shape. All right, and then what you can do is kind of use your finger to sharpen the corner a little bit, right? So I just kind of went along that line. And it's fine if you need to clean stuff up because we didn't do the face makeup yet. So we can always come in and clean stuff up if we make a mistake. All right, so I'm just extending that out a little bit. Right, and then just with my finger, just kind of sharpening that line a tiny bit. There we go. All right, and what I'm gonna do is go ahead and clean my brush off and go over those edges. Right, we want them to be smudgy and messy looking. And it's okay if that darkness covers the entire lid. We're just kind of smudging it up. Right, and this is the key to a good smoky eye in general, is to place your color first and then smudge it out. So that's what we're doing right now, is we've placed the color exactly where we want it, and now we're just smudging it out. Now, Cruella's hair is black and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a tiny bit more of my black eyeshadow, and I'm going to just run a little bit through my brows to make them a little bit more black. Right, and again, does not need to be perfect, and we can go in and clean up with a Q-tip if we make mistakes. So I'm just doing little teeny brush strokes, just kind of deepening up the color a little bit. Right, but we're keeping it easy. All right. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a Q-tip. And if there's anything that needs cleaning up, and you know, remember this is supposed to be messy, so there's not too much that's gonna need too much cleaning up. But if anything needs cleaning up, just go over with the Q-tip and clean it up. You can smudge out that eye look a little bit more with the Q-tip as well if there's anywhere that needs it. All right, let's finish up these eyes. Next, I'm gonna grab a black pencil eyeliner, and I'm going to line my waterline on top and bottom. And this is a completely optional step. It makes the look a little more intense, but if you're not comfortable doing this, then just skip it. This look will work well without this too. All right, so I'm just hugging that waterline. All the way across the top and the bottom to intensify. Next is black mascara time. And of course you could wear falsies with this look. I just don't like to wear falsies. So I'm going to do black mascara. And I want to make sure I get plenty of black mascara on. If it's a little clumpy, that would be okay. That would go with the whole vibe, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Gotta make my lashes. There we go. Gotta get those bottom lashes. And I usually just do one coat on my bottom lashes, but I think I'm gonna do a second coat on top and on bottom to really make sure we have some voluminous lashes going on. Okay, and I did make a little mess there. That's okay. We're gonna leave it there, and after we finish with our mascara, we'll clean up any messes. All right, so you're not supposed to do this perfectly in one go. It's gonna require a little bit of, you know, playing around with the shape and smudging stuff out and playing around. So don't give up if it looks bad. Just keep playing with it till you get it, because you got this. More mascara. I'm making a huge mess with my mascara today. Oh my goodness. It's everywhere. What is going on? But, you know, we all have days like that. And it's not a big deal. So I'm just gonna grab my Q-tip and clean up all those mascara smudges that I made. So that's it for the eyes. Moving on. Now it's time for the complexion. And for the complexion, our goal is to keep it as colorless and sad as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a full coverage foundation, which is not my normal vibe. And I'm going to use this one from Oma Beauty. So a full coverage foundation is going to really make our entire face the same color, which means we're not going to have our natural, you know, blushiness, our natural bronziness. And you can just bring that full coverage down onto the neck if you have stuff you need to hide. All right, so I'm going to grab a foundation brush and I'm going to blend out my full coverage foundation. If you prefer to use a different method to blend out your foundation, that is fine. And the nice thing with a full coverage foundation is that I don't usually find that I need a separate concealer. If you use a less full coverage foundation, you may need to pair it up with a concealer to get the same effect, where we really want the entire face to look kind of washed out and colorless and lifeless. Okay. So there we go. And we can always add a touch more foundation in any areas where we are finding we need a little more coverage. Because again, we want it to look very much a solid color. Right? The entire face, one solid color. Okay. What we're gonna do next is just set this, and I am setting it with the powder I used on my eyes before. This is a powder foundation, but you could set with whatever powder you'd like. I'm choosing a powder foundation because this one is in a light shade, and I want my skin to look light and very, you know, I really want all that redness covered up. So an extra layer of coverage here is going to help my makeup last all day and really make sure that I don't have rosacea and that I have Cruella vibes. Or I don't look like I have rosacea, I guess I should say. Okay. So now I look really washed out and clean. This would not be my normal look. Okay. So now it's time to contour. We want some nice harsh contour lines because Cruella is a harsh character. So when you choose a contour shade, you want something that's marketed as a contour powder, or you want to choose something that's got kind of a hint of gray to it. We don't want something super warm like a bronzer. So I'm going to use this powder right here. All right, so it's got a very cool tone to it. And I'm going to use an angled blush brush. All right, so I'm dipping into my contour with my angled blush brush. And the first place we touch down our brush is going to get the most color, and you want that to be up high on the cheekbone, and then you want to bring that down just underneath the cheekbone. All right, and then we're going to blend it out. All right, so always think place first, then blend, and you want to blend this right back into your hairline. Right, and that's going to give us a little bit of definition there. Right? You can see the difference. It's a little bit harsher, more defined. And then I'm also going to bring my contour powder around the perimeter of the face here. And you could skip this. I think just this would be enough. All right, but I like to bring it around the perimeter of my face. I'm going to do around the perimeter down here. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to dip back into that powder, focus it close to the hairline at the top of the cheekbone, and then bring it down underneath the cheekbone. Place first, and then blend. Right, and again, we want to focus that blend back into the hairline. And bring it around here. All right, so now we have a little bit of definition on each side. I'm going to go ahead and go back over it one more time. Just really making sure we have this nice and exaggerated for my look. Okay. I think we are good. All right, and we're not gonna do any blush or anything, you know, in this part of the face because we wanna look colorless and mean and dead. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a slightly smaller brush. I'm using that same contour powder. This is totally optional, but I like to do a little bit of contour on my nose. And then I also like to put a little bit right underneath my lip. Just gonna blend those out. All right, now I'm going to grab my powder brush and just go over all these areas where I've applied the bronzer, go around the edges, and just really make sure everything is nice and blended. Because yes, I want to look like Cruella, but also I want to look, you know, beautiful. I like to look pretty. Okay. All right, let's do the lips. Lip liner is optional. I am using it because I like to have a little bit of a gradient where my lips are darker on the outside and lighter on the inside for this look. And so I'm just going right underneath the natural lip line. All right, so just following the line of the lips. Again, we don't need to be perfect. And then kind of thickening that line up. And then I'm going to use my finger, kind of blend it. And I'm also going to go over the edge with my finger. And that's just to soften it. All right, just softening a little bit. And again, you can skip this whole step if you don't want to use lip liner. You'll still look hot. There we go. I'm going to use my finger again to bring it down over the rest of the lip. And that's going to help your lipstick last really well too. Now it's time for lipstick. I had to use my Disney Villains Cruella lipstick, you know, because it says Cruella. So I had to use that for this. Because why would I own a Villains lipstick? Like, it actually says Villains on it. But why would I own that if I wasn't going to use it for this? All right, so I'll apply some lipstick. Do I look like Cruella yet? Okay. So that's basically it, but I'm gonna add a few finishing touches. So these are all optional. All right, my first optional step is I'm gonna add a little bit of a fun multi-chrome highlighter from Kaleidos. I think this will work with my look. All right, so I'm just gonna apply a little bit to the tops of the cheeks. And I usually apply highlighter to other places too, but I'm limiting it just to the tops of the cheeks today. Okay. So we got a little bit of highlighter going on. It's a fun multi-chrome one. And then I have one more optional thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab a little bit of a gel eyeliner. Again, totally optional here, and you could use a lot of things to do this. And what I'm gonna do is this. Boop. I just think Cruella has a little beauty mark there. My Cruella has a little beauty mark there. And then we'll do a spritz spritz. That should help it last all night. So embrace the spirit of Cruella and have fun with your makeup. You're gonna look gorgeous. Dalmatian puppies. 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 Yeah. Puppies. Thank you for watching. No puppies were harmed in the making of this video.
Date night.
If you loved this video, be sure to check out my video on how to put together a Halloween costume you will be so excited to wear.